good evening. And if you're just tuning in, you are listening live to the Angel Rock out of New Orleans on 105.3. Um, Sorry, I'm just listening here. Hopefully, this is going out live. It looks like we might be having a problem here. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. I just got a little notice here on StreamYard. So let me know if you guys are in the audience and you can hear us, but I'll continue on. I'm your host, Lorilei Potvin. I'm a Canadian clairvoyant medium, crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, spiritual teacher, and mentor. And if you've never been to the show, welcome. If you're just tuning in and you have been here before, we appreciate your support. Either way, please share and subscribe because we have something for everybody on this network here. I'm also the host of a secondary show with my co-host, David Hansel, The Thing at the Foot of the Bed on Thursday. More about that later. If you want to join in the show, and so we can see your comments, please either head over while you're live, if you're watching live, to UFO Paranormal Radio Network, either on Facebook, the page, or the YouTube channel, and we'll be able to see your comments. Now, one thing about the show, I cover all aspects. I say the esoteric, supernatural, as well as a little bit of truth seeking, but I'm branching out a wee bit with people because the type of guests I always have on are making a positive change for humanity through either the work they're doing or the extracurricular activities. And the show always has a positive note. Now, a little bit about the show before we have a different guest. It's not Sonya Roy. I'll explain that. Sonya Roy has been on at the beginning of the year. We were supposed to do a show tonight about hybrids and elementals, and unfortunately, she's very under the weather. So please, if you're listening, send her prayers, send her healing. And so I've got my ride or die who lives in the same house. He's also a house. He is the same host on this network, the Dell. Say hi, Dell. Tell them about your show.
Hello. Yes, thanks for having me on. I know I'm always the sort of the pitch hitter there that comes in there when there's something that falls through. But
Me too for you.
yeah, that's true. Yep, I have a show on there on Thursdays at 8 Eastern Standard Time, and that is The Delicious Recipe. And this week I'll be having one of my returning guests there come back on there, Barla Ventura, and we'll be talking about Imbolc. They're another Celtic festival that happens at the beginning of February. So that'll be this Thursday, 8 Eastern.
And Varla is a favorite of our show. She was somebody on my show. Dell and I used to do a show on the same night on the network. So we would sometimes amalgamate and make it super long. She's super interesting. I'm going to try and connect with her and have her back on as well because she is an awesome guest. You don't want to miss that. I may have said this if I didn't. I was distracted with the warning. It looks like Roku is not going out. So Joe, owner of the network, Joe Montaldo, give him a huge shout out. He provides this platform for many of us. And yes, we are new on Roku. If you want to find the channel, the best way to do it is sign in to Roku. You're going to the channel store. And what you're going to type in is UFO space P as in Peter, like you're going to spell paranormal. We do come up under UFO paranormal, and then it says United Public, I believe, Radio Network. That's how you find the channel. But I got a little exclamation point coming up here. So hopefully Joe's hanging around and he'll hear that. But either way, you can still watch us on all our other platforms. So I'm a Canadian, like I said, so is Dell, obviously, clairvoyant medium, crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, spiritual teacher, mentor, and a registered nurse. So we said we're going to go all around the bend tonight, depending on who joins us tonight. We see your comments. We will make you part of the conversation as we always do. You got questions, you got comments, something you want to talk about, we're happy to indulge as long as it's friendly enough to be putting out on the airwaves. So I said, let's start with elementals. And I've often said, I never thought in all the years Dell and I have been together that we would ever have a conversation about fairies. Now, it wasn't quite fairies, was it, Dell? What exactly were we talking about? We have a suspicion. Who knows? We've got some kind of mischievous behavior here in this house, right? What do you think it might be?
Yeah, well, there's many terms. It could be fairies, gnomes, little gremlins, or whatever you want to call them. Some little mischief maker that seems to move things around. And I think that's the way. Is that what you're pertaining to there, Laura?
Yeah, but like I said, I never thought we'd ever have a conversation about this type of stuff. And for those of you that don't know, Dell and I, our previous home, we said we never went looking for the paranormal ever. It found us, and we lived in an extremely active home. Have quite the story. We have shared it on the Travel Channel's Paranormal Survivor. It's season 4, episode 9. And it's kind of where, how, and what we got into what we're doing nowadays, like podcasting and um, I work with energy and energy healing, do readings, things like that. But you started covering little people. We're not being disrespectful using the term little people, but we aren't referring to the humankind, are we?
No, no, that was the thing. There is well, on my show I go through a lot of stuff. It was conspiracy theories types things, and then
Mhm.
getting into cryptids. And I guess how it started there is I had asked one of the neighbors that was by us there, that was from one of the northern reserves, and I'd asked her because I was looking into Bigfoot and about all these sightings. And because the topic was, I found sort of interesting about that is that there was so many people uh, and so many stories over so long of experienced hunters and that would go out into the bush and stuff like that, and they would see something that they knew that wasn't a regular animal like a bear or a moose or a deer, and something that didn't move the same way. And they all had sort of things about that. So when I'd asked my neighbor about this, is that if she had heard any stories like this from her tribe and stuff like that, says she went no. Says mostly we talk about is little people, and that's I was okay. So then I started getting into that, and then I talked about that too with Varla too about little people, and they seem to be a really predominant, I guess, entity, I guess if you say, under various names all around every single continent. Everybody has stories of these little people, whether they're good, bad, mischievous, happy, helpful, and every sort of I guess not heritage or nationality all have sort of stories like that.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like anything that we would consider sort of within the alternative dimensions and areas of fields of discussion, such as angels. They're not really denominational in the way of religion. They exist in every different culture throughout history. I'm going to give a huge shout out to Kelly Hopkins. Hi, welcome. Glad to see you here. Say hi to Steve-O. I saw your message, hun. I did not have a second to send you a message back, but thanks for saying hi. But yeah, like you said, they exist in every culture. Sorry if I seem distracted, guys. I just messaged so that if you were trying to watch on Roku, if Joe is available, he has a muggle job, as I call it. He runs a busy construction business all day long, and then he provides this wonderful platform for us, which is growing, by the way. We're getting a bunch of new hosts, new content. Like I said, there's something for everybody on this network. But yeah, so we live where we live in Canada, obviously. We're about 6.5 hours north of Minneapolis, Minnesota. We're in a city called Thunder Bay, and we're right on the shores of Lake Superior, about 35, 40 minutes away from the Minnesota border. And we have a lot of strange activity, strange, unusual reports of things. When I was trying to find answers about what was going on in our house many years back, I connected with many different types of people, including was a female shaman I spoke to. She told me about a lot of activity. If you look up Thunder Bay, you will see there are many reports. Dell and I have both had D. Macaulay, who has Thunder Striker Films. He is
Mhm.
Métis, which is First Nations nationality, and another nationality. He doesn't actually live in Thunder Bay. He lives in the surrounding area, but he's got a great channel. He's documented a lot of stuff with UFOs, haunted locations. I don't think I've ever seen anything about little people yet, but definitely about Sasquatch and things like that, right?
Yeah, I had him on my show there about 2 years ago, and
That's I said we both have. Mhm.
yeah, and he talked about it. There was sightings in some caves around the Red Rock Nipigon area that, and there was some stories that they went out and filmed some of that stuff there, where they had found in these little hidden incroppings or whatever, or cave sort of things, little hands and little feet imprinted in on the stone. And yeah, it was just, it's sort of that once I started asking that one question there from one person, and I started getting into it a little bit more and asking people. I talked to Kitavitchik up in Alaska, and with his tribe up there, and he went in there with his channel Xeno Hunters, looking for these mysterious little creatures, and there's tons and tons and tons of stories about this, and I just find it really fascinating. It can't all just be that it's a mass hallucination or a mass thinking that everybody's seeing these sort of same sort of little people, any cryptid anyways, period at all, that it all can't
Mhm.
be just for trying to get their 15 seconds of fame. So I just and with all the different countries around the world that these similar stories are there, just I just find it really fascinating.
Yeah, I want to say hi to Effie. Welcome. Now, I know we got a few people in the chat. Maybe you joined a few minutes late. This is obviously not Sonya Roy. She was a returning guest. She was on at the beginning of the year. We were going to be discussing this topic we're talking about, but unfortunately, she's fell ill. So please send some prayers, healing, energy, good thoughts her way, please. She will be back on again. Um, you can't leave a message. Yes, you can, because I can see it. Carol Doan Sloan. Welcome. No, you're right about that. But where we were going to go with this, well, I've often said this to you, Dell and I, and for those of you who don't know Dell is a host on the network. He is also my partner in crime. We live together. He is my common law hubby, as you call it. We have built-in guests if these things happen, right, when you have live shows. Facebook is being crazy. Well, it's working, Carol. We can see you. We can see all your messages. That's why we're saying hello. I can't answer any messenger messages right now, but I can definitely see what you're leaving here. So what we said is, if you guys, there's something you want to talk about, you got questions, you got comments, throw them in here. This is a last minute show we put together. We do this often. You got to kind of go with the flow when we're live. So yeah, you're right about the cryptids. And I've often said this, sorry, I was losing my train of thought, is to me, there has to be some kind of truth to all these legends and mythology that we hear about giants, vampires, werewolves, little people, fairies, nature spirits, you name it, because it has continued beyond just where we are now. It goes back so many centuries throughout history. And to me, especially when there wasn't radio and the internet and TV, that they sat around the fire, right, or whatever, and told stories. So
Mm-hmm.
if it had no relevance, you would think that it would kind of fall off the radar. So to me, there has to be some type of relevance to it. What do you think, Del?
Yeah, well, I guess one part of it there is you can think about it back hundreds of thousands or hundreds of years ago and stuff like that. Is that, yeah, well, when we didn't have this well, we have now worldwide internet, but the way of passing along stories and ancient lore. And before, I guess, the Christianity went into the paganism and took over a bunch of things. But even in a lot of the religious texts of all the different religions, they do mention other beings than human beings. So if they're writing them in those books too, as well, and also ancient mythology, lore, legends, and stuff like that are talking about things like this, there has to be a small little sliver of some sort of factual truth to this all, because it all can't be just made up. Like there was a mass mass of people that were making all this thing up of talking about similar things when they didn't have communication with the other continents. And like this place in South America didn't know what was going on in Egypt, or vice versa, or wherever it was. And that's that's why I said at the beginning is that almost every territory, every continent has the same sort of uh, creature or entity under a different name, but they all sort of function the same sort of way.
Exactly. So, sorry guys, I was trying to figure out what's going on Roku here. Apologize, because we're pretty excited about that. UPRN having its own TV channel, and I hear rumors we're going to be expanding to a couple other streaming platforms with TV as well. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, I hear what you're saying, But, even when you look at with us having the technology that we do, that's another thing I've been wondering. Like, are things just showing up with more frequency, or because everybody has a phone, we're catching it, right? I was thinking, I don't know if I still have it uploaded. I've shared it on, I think on Paranormal University. And what it was, and David Hansel and I showed it on the thing at the foot of the bed on Thursday. I think it was last week or the week before. It's going kind of viral on TikTok, and it looks like this electrical ball, and it's traveling along a railroad, and
Hmm.
it lights up the railroad, and then it travels off into the forest. And I was asking people's thoughts. Hey, Keith, welcome. Nice to see you here. Kelly, I'm going to read your comment in just a sec. And somebody in the group had said they thought it was a Hadouken. No, I guess you know what that probably is, right?
That's some similar to a will of the wisp, I believe that is some
Well, it
sort of.
can be, but there's many terms for it. Actually, I was
Hmm.
shocked because I've never heard of this within the supernatural world,
Hmm.
but it's usually referred to in like things like Dragon Ball Z when they create that ball of
Oh,
energy and
okay,
then
yeah.
throw it in the cartoons. There's
Hmm.
in the Urban Dictionary, it's a little filthy, so I won't say that. I was surprised that they would equate it to the ball of energy. But I guess we step back and look at it. You guys can look it up yourself if you want. It's H as in hat, A, D as in dog, Ouken as in Nancy. And look up, you'll see Urban Dictionary. You'll see what the meaning is. So I don't know if it is or not. If any of you have
Well,
seen that, let us know.
they have there's a phenomenon called ball lightning, and that also is something that travels around any type of uh, electrical source or something that can carry electricity. So if it's going along railway tracks are a great source of electricity. A great
Yeah,
It's basically a good wire. And if there's some sort of atmospheric, like there's ways to sort of to
I'm still here.
recreate some to recreate things there too as well. So it gets different when you start seeing things away from any power source, like out in the bush, and then you know the whole thing about the Project Blue Book and how they tried to uh, take things and I guess scientifically prove them. Like they were saying, these lights that were in the bush were swamp gas and all these different
Right.
things. There's some things can be sort of recreated, and there's a lot of people out there who are masters at technology that can manipulate film in a way. We've gone through a lot of those, Lore? Going in.
Yeah. Sorry, I was looking to see if I still had the clip on my laptop. I was going to upload it here, guys. Sorry about that, but I was checking because I thought it would have been cool. But yeah, that's the problem, right? And especially because technology has come so far with deep fakes.
Mhm.
Even people that are really good at picking up photoshopping and that kind of editing, it's gone so far that if it's done well, it's pretty difficult to tell whether or not it's actually been faked or not, right?
Yeah, well, you remember that one that we saw about the little fairy gnomes that I think was out in England, and then we found out about this old guy that was finding
Oh,
these
that
things,
guy.
but he used to be a
Yeah.
digital animator, and another guy had gone through this and with a fine tooth comb, and he had gone down and saw that the shadows didn't line up with the little creatures that the guy had created, and found out that they were fake. But it actually looked pretty real,
You did,
and
yeah.
but the guy had said there afterwards is that the reason that he created it was for his nieces and nephews to give them a story in that, and it wasn't
Do
something
you
that he was
believe that
trying to
though?
fool
Because
the
he could have
world.
said that. Like he changed his
Yeah,
name. I'm gonna find
yeah,
him on here. I'll give you guys the name. You can check out the channel. Like like he actually didn't bother saying that this was made for my nieces and nephews to
right.
entertain them. He passed himself off as really finding these fairy
True.
people,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Well, that true. Yeah. He
Irwin
sort of
Saunders, that's his
right.
channel. Irwin Saunders, but that's not his real name. Like the guy what he does is he debunks videos like this that are out in social media. And this guy was very kind because he could have been he could have been really mean. Like he really went deep. Like he showed you who he was, that he was a 3D animator, Photoshop
Yeah.
expert, and what have you. And he said, but he said it's not a bad thing because a lot of people really do love the scenery. There's a lot of scenery in nature and what have you. So I have a problem with people that do that though, because we have a hard enough time when we talk to people about this world, if you will. And so many people don't believe it. And then when you have just well, it's not a few, but there are people out there that fake it, then people are like, well, how do I know you're telling the truth or not? Right.
Hmm. Yeah, well, that gets into the whole part of the paranormal and the UFO stuff too, as well, right? Is
Mhm.
is the same thing as anything that I guess with dealing with supernatural or non-human that we can purposely say, like, I can go upstairs right now and see you right now, and I know that you're real. But if I'm watching a video right now, how do I know that you're in the
Yeah.
house? How would anybody, right? There's so many ways to you. It's so hard to prove things, I guess, in a way, to a point. But the whole part is that I just these
I agree.
stories of all these different things I just find is so amazing that that the story is so prevalent, and I guess it's getting even more now too. Is that we're finding out is that maybe our history isn't the history that we were taught in school. Now, there might be a little bit
Mhm.
more to it. Like our timeline is maybe not be the exact thing that we all think it is.
I agree. I'm going to read Kelly's comment, but I want to give a shout out to Keith. He's here. Keith Ottersberg. We've got Debbie A. Anderson, good friend of mine. Welcome, Debbie. She's popping in for a bit. Janie Walker, another friend of mine. Welcome. Glad to see well, everybody here. I know. So thank you. So say hi if you're watching, if you're just lurking, so we can say hi to you. So Kelly shares, we have UFOs here in New Brunswick, in my area. I've seen them running around in the middle of the street late at night. Granted, they are only like 1 to 3 feet tall. I noticed they use a camouflage of sorts. Looks like a thin veil. They looked directly at me and ran off behind a couple houses. Yes, yeah. Like I said, the more I open this world or look into this world, the more how much more infinitely larger it is than what we've always been led to believe, like when we went to school and what real life or what it's presented as real life is. It's so much larger. Like you really have to be open-minded as well as consider yourself to be a lifelong learner, I believe, because I do change my belief systems depending on research, experience, things that I found, people I've connected with. What about yourself, Del? You don't believe exactly everything that you thought maybe, say, 5, 10 years ago, right? Hi, Bernard
No,
from the UK.
no, I started questioning things a long, long, long time ago. Probably like my early teens when, well, I grew up a very religious household and church every Sunday, and that was sort of I guess was the narrative that was there, and I started questioning things because when you hear even just stories that you heard in the Bible and you're questioning things like you're going, okay, well, how is that possible, and how is this other thing not possible, right?
Or they
So it's always
contradict depending where you read it.
right,
This,
like
they tell you one thing, in another book it's different, or
right,
Testament.
like even just saying even the Bible or the Torah or the East Indian I can't even remember what
Mhm.
that one's called there. Uh, Books of their religious books and that they mention all these supernatural beings that are in them. So if they're all mentioning this stuff and this is supposed to be religion or of the major religions that are around there, and they're mentioning these beings, I don't want to call them creatures or whatever, but just something like this, these the phenomena, then there has to be some sort of semblance of truth to them. That's what I sort of think.
Well, and I remember when we first started hanging out just as friends many years ago, and you've never said it to me since, but the first time we discussed it about the Bible and what I had shared with you, you had thought that maybe I hated the Bible. I said, I don't hate the Bible. I think it's a beautiful book. It's got a lot of positive energy associated with it, with people's belief in what it is. But it's a man-made written document. We're not knocking religion here or anything like that, but we do have to be honest with you, it's a man-made written document with the fact that they're still finding bits and pieces and scrolls and depending on what they find, right? So, and there's so many different versions too. That's been changed. So I was just saying this to somebody that if you think about it, history could really be changed within about one generation. So you figure whatever our little ones are learning today, we fast forward 10, well, not 10, probably 20, 30 years from now. So one generation, and they start having children. What they've learned and anything that was, say, changed in history that really maybe didn't quite happen the way it was changed, that now passes down to the next generation. And you can quickly see how quickly history can be changed. And without history, I don't think we can't go back on previous mistakes and look what we did to possibly correct them. We're kind of destined to keep repeating the same mistakes over and over.
Well, that's a, I guess, a reason why that written text or tablets and stuff like that are so important, right? Because
Mhm.
in this digital world right now, because I've said this before, but Wikipedia can change in a matter of 2 seconds. I can
Yeah,
go into Wikipedia and go and edit whatever was written there, and then someone else can go and edit it after me. So if anybody
yeah.
goes in and believes that Wikipedia is the end all be all of information, that it's totally correct, well, that's totally incorrect.
I still use it. I still use
Hmm.
it for certain things. Like I mentioned the Hadouken earlier. I shared that and I shared it because it gives a perspective on what it is. But
Hmm.
as you always say in your show, and I say on here too, if something resonates with you or piques your curiosity, don't take our word for it. Nobody's an expert, nobody's 100% correct. Do your own research. Start looking at different sources, have a questioning mind, and be willing to pursue it because I think that that's what truth is, right? At least your truth to you in the moment when you're researching and looking. But this is where I think we go wrong is we start looking to putting somebody on a pedestal or believing what they have to say. And I'm not saying everybody's lying to us. What I'm saying is I think we should always question what we see or what we hear. I mean, we just spent the last 10 minutes talking about how easily it is either changed or possibly misrepresented or whatever it may be, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep, that's doing your own research is the biggest thing there, and get it from many sources. Even with your news, get it from other countries that are looking from from there back at you, and you'll get a
Mhm.
different perspective on things, and that's a good way to go. And like even saying there too is that they're finding more and more ancient cities and under Turkey and even in South America that sort of predate our common uh, history of knowing when how information was passed. Like they're finding pyramids, even more and more pyramids
You're
now
reading my
today.
mind. I was going to bring the pyramids up. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, like they're finding more of them throughout Asia, all through South America, even in North America. The mounds, they're finding more mounds, the mound builders and that. Talking about stuff like if you look at it, how religion goes is that we've Adam and Eve 66,500 years ago, but now you're still finding human remains that are plus 10,000, 100,000, and our timeline might not be what we were taught in school. So that's just getting into a more interesting discussion as of late. And I guess with during this pandemic over the last couple of years, I guess people had a lot more time to start doing some research and looking
Going
into
down the rabbit hole.
more down the rabbit hole at things that's just a opinion there or observation, but because I've seen a lot more people looking at this a lot more, like thinking of that Riet structure in Africa in the Sahara Desert. There might be possibly where Atlantis was. That's a theory that's going around, and
Sorry, it cut out that last part. It might be a what?
it might be the location of where Atlantis was.
Oh, okay. Well, you know
Eh,
what? It just depends, right? You hear so many different theories on where Atlantis could be. Some people don't even
mhm,
believe it exists. I do. I
mhm.
think Lemuria existed. I believe Atlantis existed. Um, But getting back to nature spirits, since we were going to kind of go there a little bit with this. Oh, and Jane says, not to mention, oh, Jane, you're reading my mind too. That has been like, I've literally been thinking about this. I was going to bring it up. I'm not even going to go there then. We're going to go with giants, because Janie Walker says, not to mention giants, which they are still hiding. Okay, so let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about this, because that was literally on my mind. Wow, we are on the same wavelength tonight, people. First, Delta mentioned something I'm going to talk. I was thinking about, and then Jane does, because I can't get this out of my head. There's a story now. I believe it. The guy has he was, I think, with the Green Berets or one of the higher military operations, we'll say, with the US, and they were over in Iraq, and they were looking for a missing group that was out there from the military. And as the story goes, and I've seen the interview bits and pieces, they blurred his face out and changed his voice, and they were attacked by this, I believe it was like 12, 15-foot giant with a spear. It actually took out one of their troop.
Mm-hmm.
And there was evidence before they were attacked from this cave that the, I guess the group they were looking for that was missing, nobody was still alive. There was
Mm-hmm.
evidence of that. And they described this being, and it was really big, had red hair and a beard. Like, it looked like what we sort of have always heard what giants kind of look like. This was back, I think, in 2006. And
Mm-hmm.
yet, you hear more and more, like, hi, Heather Cooper. She says people having past life recall seems to be more common as well. We'll go there. Like I said, you guys are all joining in now. That's what I said. We kind of had to change on a dime here with our guests that will come back. Sonya Roy, like I said, fell ill. And again, please send her healing and prayers. But yeah, it's all of these things. We will get to past lives. But I started really looking into giants, because we had a night like this, just myself hanging out. I believe it was over the holidays, and people wanted to talk about it. And I keep asking the question, with the stuff that people claim they have seen or encountered, it seems they all have red hair and beards. Why is that?
Yeah, I don't know why that, but that seems to be a popular trait feature, because the other ones
Mhm.
that they had uncovered through I guess it'd be Celtic area, so Germany, Norway, Finland, Ireland, and stuff like that, is that they all sort of have this red hair with double rows of teeth. Even ones that they found too
Yeah.
in in America and in South America, because that was a part through. I actually talked about this a month or so ago, and with some of these mounds that they had found that were being excavated back in the end of the 1800s into the 1900s, and where these discoveries were, and the Smithsonian coming in and
You're reading
basically
my mind again. I was just going to bring up the Smithsonian. Go ahead.
right, and coming in and basically taking over the the excavation site, and everything being taken away. And this has sort of been a common thread for a part of history, because you can go back into old archives of newspapers and find these stories written in the local newspapers of a discovery that was found, and then it never shows these things never show up, and some of them have photos that were found, and some of these things are also been heavily faked for in recent years to I guess for what do you want to call it, s's and giggles, but yeah, just there's been stories of this stuff, these unearthing of people or beings that are well over our height, like going in from 7 feet plus to up to 15 feet. And
I've
we do
even
have,
seen higher. Like, I think the one in the Smithsonian is really, really tall. I've seen the skeleton. I don't
mhm,
want to say, but I believe it's higher than 12 feet. It's massive.
yeah,
But even the story of what happened with this guy that was part of the higher military
yeah,
group encountered in 2006, they took this being down eventually.
yeah,
And they, as this guy told the story, for people that don't know it, then I'm going to get to your comments, is that it took a full one of their, you would know what their helicopters called, like the Black Hawks or whatever, that can carry a huge load. And they needed one for the troop to remove them, and the other one just to remove this body of this giant. And they said they had to sign an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, that they'd never discussed this. They wrote a report about what happened, and they were told to return the report and remove any reference whatsoever to this giant individual that they ran into. And they never saw or anything about it. They never heard anything else about it. They don't know what happened to the body. Then I have a friend that you know who she is. She's in Sardinia, and we've watched documentaries about the giant tombs in Sardinia, and people were speaking on this documentary, which seems to be sort of the norm, is anybody that discovers something that is much more larger than a regular human, you get a little knock on the door, and somebody that from the government shows up and confiscates it, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
But just to go with that part about that, that wasn't
There
in
you go,
Afghanistan.
George.
That was Afghanistan, where that story of the military running
George
into
told
that
us the
giant.
giant of Kandar.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, that was, yeah. One troop went in, they didn't show back up, so another went back in to go and find out what happened to them. They encountered this large being, and I guess after the battle ensued, they were able to take it out, and then they transported it out. And they said with the helicopter and the, I guess the pallet system that they had there, this thing was big enough that it barely fit
Yeah.
onto the pallet system. And they said that the smell coming from it was huge, and it was large, or grotesque. But the other part about it too is that there was stories that were mentioned beforehand by the Afghani people of because Afghanistan is basically, it's a mountain range of valleys and peaks and cave systems and stuff like that, and that's why the military had such still do have a hard time with outing out forces in there, because the terrain is so uh, I guess
Rugged.
rugged, yeah, and
Hmm.
there is no real road system, so
Hmm.
things get hide in there. And that's even a thing, even with Bigfoot here in in Canada. The bush is so immense that you could hide things out in the bush and probably never ever find them. So but yeah, it's that they brought it back, and that was basically it. Is that everybody was supposed to be sworn to the secrecy. So, but there's a lot of controversy around that, if that was really a thing. But the Afghani people had said beforehand that there is weird creatures, and even their folklore and myth there have things of jinn and demons, devils. Demigods and giants and little people. That
Okay,
there's
so
a
let's
story.
go into Jen for a minute here. I'm going to
Yeah,
get your comments, I promise, because you guys have had some great comments. And remember now, it was the giant of Kandahar. That's what
yeah,
it was. Correct me if I'm wrong, George. George has been on the show before.
yeah.
He's written many books on cryptids. He's been on Dell's show too about cryptids and on all areas in the United States. So I'm glad he was here to remember the name, because I certainly couldn't. Um, but like I said, there's all of these beings all over the place. What was I saying I was going to get to when I read George's comment there? I'm losing my train of thought.
Jin,
Thank you.
Jin.
I knew it would come if I kept talking, but I have my co-host here who will remember, as I look like I got ADHD, not making fun of it, but I'm managing a bunch of things as I'm looking here and there and losing my train of thought. Um, so again, you guys have heard me mention many times on this show, Nuke's Top 5. I do like the show because I find that he doesn't tell you what to think. All he does is share with you things that are sent in with him, like to him. He's in the Netherlands. I believe he's somewhere probably from North America. He seems like he has a North American accent. There are some crazy videos, and these guys stream live. Like these are from live streams off of either, not TikTok, it wouldn't be TikTok, I think Snapchat, YouTube, where these guys are catching, for a lack of a better term, they call them jinn. They're black. I've seen them. They show up. There was one video in particular blew my mind. Now, again, can I say, like, we aren't seeing it live? It's a clip from the live stream. Other places, Japan, that's crazy with activity. But in there's one guy in particular, I can't pronounce his name, I apologize, but he goes to these places notoriously haunted, and he has had some crazy activity, caught crazy things on camera. So there's two of them. One of them goes in on his own. They go on their own. Goes into this place that notoriously is supposedly haunted by a jinn, and it's abandoned. He goes in, he reaches into the cupboard. There's a bunch of papers in there, and he picks up one that looks like it's got some red paint on it. He doesn't know if it's blood or what it is. And as he picks it up and goes to open it, he ends up throwing it to the ground, but you don't see why till it lands on the ground. It bursts into flames. And these guys, and Dell is a skeptic after everything we've been through. He's still quite a skeptic. And again, we've just spent some time talking about what people can do with cameras, but I do have a little bit different perspective of things that are done live on camera. I don't know. What do
Well,
you think?
well, that's where you get into the whole thing about magic tricks, and I went into the whole thing about.
Oh, we're going to go there tonight. Jane will
Well,
know what I'm talking about.
yeah, with there's so many like well, you remember anyways. I spent almost about 2 years just going through different magician stuff and learning how to go and break down tricks and learning how they did tricks and all the different little magicians gimmicks that can be done to make paper turn into fire or turn into smoke, and how things are done. That's what I always called the prestige. That's the part what the government does, right? The whole magic trick of government. They tell you one thing and do whatever, and then ta-da! Here's at the end, and it was never what you thought it was going to be. Or Darren Brown, another person that we had watched there before with.
Right. Are you going to tell them your story about you used one of his techniques and people saw it and it worked?
Yeah. Yeah, the power of suggestion, and yeah, that's
Bernard Dorset will know, especially, who most of you may or you may not, but Bernard should know who he is, being from the UK. Debbie might know as well. I know she originally was from the UK. She's Canadian now, but
yeah, you can go ahead and tell it there, Laura. It's your show.
Okay. So if you ever want to look up Darren Brown, I encourage you to. It's quite astounding, some of the stuff that happens. Some of it I think is a little bit of video editing, but you be the judge. So he's D as in dog, ERREN as in Nancy. I think there may be an E on the end of Brown. I'm not sure, but you'll find it with the way Darren is spelled. So he's going to the racetracks, I think, with this guy, isn't he? And he's got money and he's going to bet on horses, but Darren Brown is trying to show this guy how the power of suggestion can work. And I guess at the one track they go to, if you have a winning ticket and the cashier gives you too much money, that's on her. You get to keep the money. So doesn't he bang on the cage when he hands his ticket in and he says, this is a winning ticket, but it's not, and she gives him the money? Is that what happened?
Yeah, it's he gives her a losing ticket, and
Yes, I thought.
but he had also preset this up beforehand too, right? With I guess he had met her, and I guess he put this suggestion.
He programmed her.
Yeah, it was really
like he didn't say, I'm going to show up on camera and you're going to pretend my ticket's winning, right, give me money. No, he pre-programmed this, but there's a reason why I set this up, because of what happened with Dell. You finish it and then I'll tell you.
But he said it was just something simple. It was something innocuous there. But when he handed her the ticket and she looked at it and saw that it was a losing ticket, by shocking her, by banging it and saying right afterwards that I had won, and she had looked at it and says, oh yeah, you did, and then paid out the money and paid it out to him. Once the money had transferred over, then there's nothing you can really do about it.
Okay, but, so with you,
yeah,
he goes into the beer store and there's a lineup behind him. So he tries it. He doesn't scare the girl. He just, what did you, banged on the counter and you said you wanted a certain amount of beer. Yeah. And how did it work? They didn't, I don't know if they didn't charge you what, but they did what you said, and you didn't mislead them or anything. You didn't pre-program them. You just thought, hey, I'll try it and see what happens. And it worked.
Yeah.
Right.
She thought I'd already had paid already. So yeah, she just went and got it and then brought it out there. I went, okay, thank you. And it was,
thank you. Yeah. But the guy behind you's going, how did you do that? So I don't know. I guess not George Lunsford. He says the gin are not good or bad, they decide what they want to do. Yes, they do. I have a story about that actually. But Bernard Dorset says, yes, I know of Darren Brown. He's been around for years and has had his own show on Channel 4 in the UK. But he does make a compelling argument is about psychic ability, how people can be led to give you the answers. I don't agree with all of it, but yes, there probably are some people that do use the tactics he's talking about. I want to go back to
Well,
some of these comments. Go ahead.
well, I was just going to say there too is that uh, law enforcement does the exact same thing. That's a part about coercing a confession out of people, and that
Mhm.
they're even fun. I've been watching shows there on people that are on death row or been in jail and stuff like that about proven their innocence because of coerced confessions and
Yeah.
I guess improperly prisoned. It's not that everybody in prison is innocent though, but there's been some pretty startling cases out there where you're wondering, with all the information that was there presented as evidence, how this would actually pass if someone actually could be convicted of anything like that. So it's just surprising that I guess it's whatever the it's just interesting how the power of suggestion can trick people into believing something that is true, and it goes the same thing for audio. Hearing something, your mind will automatically jump depending on what frame of mind you're in, or your eyes. We call it pareidolia or audiodolia. It Whatever sort of suggestive mood or whatever type of frame of mind you're in, that you could actually sort of hear something that's not there. But like we were talking before about our little gremlins, like I got my little group up here, but these guys they just help with the production. But we've found
Well, they're not
before,
doing a good job with my mic, apparently. And Kelly was
yeah,
nice about it.
today,
Thank you. I apologize, guys. I'm right over top of the I have a Wi-Fi extender. We have had a new router put in. We have tried everything. And Dell's, because he's downstairs, he's right across from it. So I apologize. Let me know if it gets too bad. If I have to, I actually will hop right downstairs, and you'll have to have two of us on screen, I guess, if it keeps cutting out. But thanks for letting me know. Yes, you've confiscated some of my characters. I made him his gnome. He was made from a sock. He looks like a doll. Well, I don't know if you call it a doll. He looks like the guy from ZZ Top, actually. I made him. And Delsa named him you, as in, hey, you. Right. You have to hold him up closer, Del. But I was looking for my Halloween cat at Halloween time, and I couldn't find the cat. And the next thing I know, I see Del doing his show. And what do you call this cat?
kitty pot.
Kitty pot. I don't know why I think
Yeah,
he looks like he's holding a pot. And I looked
yeah,
high and low for this, not knowing that somehow Kitty Pot made it onto Dell's area where he podcasts. And then who
yeah.
else have you got there with you? Your third co-host.
Oh yeah, for the third guy there is Blaze.
Oh, Shannon named him, didn't she,
Yeah,
Shannon?
yeah,
Yeah, during Dell's show, the snowman didn't have a name. So Shannon, one of our viewers, named him. Dell said whoever wanted to name him, and Shannon did. So his name is Blaze. I want to read some of these comments. Sorry, guys. Heather Cooper was talking about, we were talking about the red hair with the giant. She said the Irish are still PO'd. And then Kelly said, we should always keep an open mind. I'll highlight it on all topics. You never know what people see, hear, know, and experience. Angels, UFOs, and other celestial beings have only been showing themselves, she said to herself, in the past few years. And I can only tell you there are humanoid, and I think it's supposed to say non-humanoid beings out there, even cryptids we don't know and see. Absolutely. So imagine what else is out there we don't know and see about yet. Agree 100%. And then she adds, the universe is huge. Our world on Earth is huge too. The veils are continually being thinned out. I think it says it cuts off, but I think every day. I have to agree with you, because I was actually thinking about this today, Kelly, and everybody out there, that, we often talk about that we've barely scratched the surface with the oceans. But when you think about it, we really could, like, depending how deep you go down the rabbit hole, we really could have a whole world and things living underground that we have no idea about,
hmm
right?
oh yeah, for sure. It's like I think I've said this before, is that most of us 7.6 billion people on the earth really only know about what's on the surface, and probably down to about 15 to 20 feet underneath the ground, but there's a huge layer of earth that's there. They're finding huge tunnel systems, even the stuff that they found in Turkey and other places there, even in China and South America, huge, massive cave systems that people have occupied that go for miles upon miles. Not to mention also too what the U.S. military and has done with their DUMBs, deep underground military bases and road systems in the U.S. and stuff that was done over in Germany and Russia, and that with their
Mhm.
huge underground facilities and travel systems and that. So that's
Well,
going to be
what
an
was making
interesting
me
thing.
think about it, I shared a video today because we added with the 2 groups I have, the Angel Rocker Tribe and Paranormal University, they have that chat option. And
Mhm.
I didn't expect people to interact on there, but they are, and they're sharing some really cool pictures, conversation, thoughts, and ideas. Only thing is, it sets people's notifications off like crazy. So if you want to know how to do that, not leave the group. My group, I've posted how to do it, but you can just look it up on YouTube. It's a really simple setting to be able to mute it so it doesn't drain your battery, especially if you're in a lot of groups. Thanks, George. George Lunsford said both of y'all shows are great to be a guest on. Well, we loved having you, right? Right, Del? Having George
Oh
on.
yeah, for sure. Yep,
Mhm.
exactly.
And what Kelly had actually said, I want to read her comment. She said, Laura, Spirit is playing with your microphone. Yeah, I don't know what it is, or it's the little gremlins in the house. But I wanted to mention, I commented that Jane would know what I'm talking about. She sent a little heart. We were talking a little bit about how things can be put into film and misrepresented and what have you. The other thing, what I'm referring to without too much detail, is a lot of people can claim something by editing, like taking a little bit of something and leaving a part out, changing the order a little bit, a whole bunch of things like that, right? And then not putting what the truth is about that little clip that you get. And you can be very much misled by what you see, right? So you really have to question it. And what I'm talking about, I'm not going to get specific, but I have seen evidence as of late that something that was presented to be something very controversial, that there's little whisperings about could possibly exist. And yet, with further research and talking to people, actually, conversations does a great thing rather than texting, right? You then discover when you start to dig and you do your own research that what we actually saw this little clip of was not at all what we were led to believe it was, because there was about a minute or two, maybe 3 cut off the end, and it wasn't prefaced about where it came from. So that's why it's always important to do your own research, right?
Hmm. Well, that's very important, and it even comes down to when it goes to dealing with anything medical wise and checking up on things. Actually, I just did watch this one little series there, and they were talking about addiction and the way that uh, the health profession run by whatever or with in conjunction with the government, they're dealing with illicit substances like marijuana, cocaine, heroin,
Right,
and that. And there was a study that was done at the beginning, and this is how it was released: is that they put a rat in a cage, and they gave one water bottle was with water, and one was with a mix of cocaine and heroin, and the rat
right,
went towards the bottle and basically drank just out of the cocaine and heroin water, didn't touch the other
right,
water, and died afterwards. So the study was done afterwards, and there was a thing called rat village or mouse village, and they'd done the same thing. And the guy had said the reason being that that happened, and he said this was his theory, and he proved it too, is that rats and mice are social creatures. If you
mhm,
have an area where they have things, a little wheel to run around on, other uh, friends to play with, and different other things like that, and you put the same two bottles in there, is that they wouldn't that they would all sample from that, but then they would just drink the water, right? And that's what ended up happening, was is that they left the tainted water alone because they had other things to amuse themselves, because they're very social and stuff like that. So
yeah,
the way that the experiment was done, and this is how it caused for laws to be put in place, is that because this one, they just took this one part and says this is what it is, right? It was the same thing as how they demonized marijuana. They put out all those
Yeah.
films and that because they didn't want the growth of hemp, right? Because hemp was a better thing for making ropes, for paper, making clothing and stuff like that. Well, that would go against the people that had the conglomerate high, stuff there that had cotton fields and had whatever this oil and this stuff, right? It was in conjunction taking away money from them. So if you demonize something, then that gets put across. And just like you said before, is that one generation of people hearing
Mm-hmm.
something and taught something, they believe this is what it is. This is something that is bad, right? I'm not saying
Mm-hmm.
that doing drugs is good, but it's just giving an example. Is
Just
that
giving an
how
example.
right? And like if you go back in the stuff of Joseph Goebbels and Edward Bernays and the whole thing about spreading propaganda, is that if you say something long enough, people believe it as truth, right? And you can
Mm-hmm.
change people's things in that. There's lots of variety of examples of this throughout history, and we've all been through it all. I'll let you continue there.
I'm just saying hi. I'm going to read the comments. No, you're right. And depending on how far you're willing to go down the rabbit hole and dig, there's quite a few
Well, it's
examples
not
of
even
what
it's
you
not even a
said.
it's not even a rabbit hole. That's like right on the surface. This is in
It's a
history.
rabbit hole for people. You're missing what I'm saying.
Okay.
Depending how far you're willing to look, is what I'm saying. Not what you said. I'm talking about the concept of it. How far you're willing to look at what's been going on around you is where I was going with this, especially say over the last few years. And I'm not going to go down that hole. What I'm saying is when you dig a little deeper and you look at the concept, you're able to apply it in many different arenas, if you will, or avenues, areas of life where you may not have thought it existed before. And I'll leave it at
Mhm.
that. So I'm going to share Effie's comment in a minute. I want to say, hey, Dave Petrella, welcome. Hey, Robin from Haffern Paranormal, nice to see you. Always about greed. Michelle Pratt says she's from Australia. Welcome. Let us know where you're from, everybody. I know we got some people from the UK. Robin is. We've got people from the US, people from Canada. If I've missed you, please let me know if you're from somewhere else, and I'd be happy to give you a shout out. So Effie says, I did a major house cleaning or house clearing meditation a few weeks ago. I've been living in my new house a little over a year. Cleared the ground as well. Always a good idea, I think. When I was done, I saw and felt a spirit in a black tuxedo with a black top hat walking in my house, going upstairs and heading towards my bedroom where I was relaxing, wondering what you sense from this energy. The energy feels nice. Not sure what he wants. Well, first of all, what I will say to you, Effie, that would be my number one question to you is how does it make you feel? So Del doesn't usually comment intuitively, but what do you think, Del? Do you feel anything from this?
Well, what did you
And then
say?
I'll share.
Clearing a house. So it's a. I guess it's an older house. Who knows? It could have been somebody that sort of lived there, if that was that, or somebody that came along. I don't know. Always when I hear the thing with a black tuxedo or black suit with a black top hat, I think of Slender Man or that guy. I remember that we had over at the other house there that was sort of walking
Well, no,
along
we
the
had
road.
a shadow man, but she
Shadow
said
Man.
the
That's what Shadow
energy
Man. That's what
feels
I meant. Yeah.
nice. And
Yeah.
I know who Effie is and that she's sort of more of a spiritual, light worker type,
Hmm.
like I am, like I would identify as. So that's why I'm glad you let us know how it felt to you.
Yeah,
So
because we because this is a point that I've made a long time ago is that all dark images don't mean that they're negative,
true. I agree.
right? Like just because it's a shadow doesn't. People always associate darkness or shadowness with being something negative and evil, and
Or
they
3
do.
a.m.
Yeah, or yeah, 3 a.m. Yeah, but that's the thing though is that anything that it doesn't necessarily make it evil. It's the energy that I guess that you get from it or that you feel from it there. But
Yeah, but
that
geographically, oh, sorry, were you still speaking? Sorry, I cut out there. So
I was just gonna say 3M all over the earth. So
thank you.
yeah,
Mhm. So I talked to somebody about this. I've had a few discussions, and they could be very well right. I don't know all the answers. None of us do. I always say we won't know till we transition back home across the veil, whatever your belief system is. But it's always 3 a.m. pretty well somewhere. Okay. And could the veil be thinner? Possibly. or it could be what I always say, which I believe I once upon a time received from spirit, which is what we perceive becomes what we believe, and it becomes our reality. So if you believe that the veil is thinner at 3 a.m., it is. But my co-host I used to have on the one of the shows we used to do together on this network, Seraphine, and we actually talked about this on the previous network we were on, and I believe her wholeheartedly 100%. Activity and things happen in the daytime, but we don't take notice of it, right? The light gives us a false sense of security, I believe. So that's just something to throw out there. If you want to add to that, Dal, and I'm going to concentrate on this little guy here, and I'll tell you what I feel, maybe, Effie. So you go ahead if you want to add something to that.
Yeah, well, that was the sort of the joke, right? The or the predicament. They said, yeah, if everybody in every time zone uh, leaves leaves their spot and they all meet at the center of the earth, what time is it? Well, time is only relative to the individual, right? So
Mhm.
it'd be 1 o'clock for me, and the person in the next time zone, it's 2 o'clock for them,
I know.
right? And then if you're in a spaceship orbiting around the earth, what time is it, right? It's only relative to you or from your situation. So I think that the whole part that this is the narrative that's been on is that the witching hour, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I'm going, well, what is that supposed to mean, right? When you're talking about the earth and planets and star systems and stuff like that, well, the earth is, if you're looking very micro or macro, there's a difference. Like time is, there's no relevance in that. And I always found that sort of really interesting, is that we can only see ghosts at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's the only time that they come out.
Mhm.
Well, I was like, well, how does that make any sense if you're thinking of the universe, right?
Okay, yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling. Like Michelle Pratt says, like a blanket, daylight is protection. Exactly. But things do happen. But we're busy. We're not paying attention. We're going to work. We're running around a million things we got to do, right? But
Mm-hmm.
nighttime, things are more quiet. There isn't the light. So every noise, everything we see, we sense, we feel almost becomes magnified, if you will. But a lot of
Yeah.
these things happen in the daytime. We just don't necessarily see it or feel it because we're preoccupied.
Well, that's true, and I guess the part is that people notice them more at nighttime because it is more quiet. That we're moving from this 9 to 5 work day into this multi 24 hour work day where things are getting a little bit more, where there's more noise going on at nighttime, whereas before it was really quiet at night, and so certain sounds would sort of pop out. But even watching, like you said, that Nuke's Top Five, or watching these
Mhm.
some of these paranormal channels with people, because more people are having these baby cams or security cameras in their house set up in that, and
Mhm.
they're noticing during the daytime, or in some of these videos with little kids or animals at like 11 o'clock in the morning, or
Give me 1 second. I'm
two
gonna grab
o'clock in the
something.
afternoon 2 o'clock in the afternoon, just going ahead, and some sort of action or reaction will happen, or a little kid or a baby will notice something and be staring at something off the wall, or off where, or over
Mhm.
there, or down a hallway, or an animal will be focused in at something that they notice there. And it's not just that happens at 3 a.m. It can happen during any time of the day. Now, whether or not these videos are all real or whatever, but there's something that's being captured, and I guess it's up to investigation.
Well, he asks you, is it all big? Is it all an elaborate hoax? You decide. And I
Right.
like that he tells you, you decide. I have seen him debunk a few things too on certain things.
Mhm.
And there's been other things I have seen on there. There's been a few, not many, but I have actually seen, say, 6 months after it was shown on there, the truth has come out. It wasn't real.
Okay.
Not very often, but there's
I'm gonna
one in
be
particular. Oh, go ahead.
I'm gonna be right back there. Just hold on a second. Okay. You can
Okay.
go.
Well, I'll keep talking then I can answer Effie's question too. And I want to say hi, Judy. I highlighted you there. Sorry about the guest, you guys, if you're just tuning in. Poor Sonya. She was on earlier in the year, at the beginning of the year, and she was coming back for kind of part two. And unfortunately, she fell ill. So please send her your healing prayers, good thoughts, and wishes. She will be back. Definitely will have her back on. But I have a built in host, thankfully, with Adele here. So we're all over the map. So if there's things you want to talk about, please throw them in the chat. So, Effie, I'm going to read your question or your comment. Again, for those that just joined us, I did a major house clearing meditation a few weeks ago. I've been living in my new house a little over a year, cleared the ground as well. When I was done, I saw and felt a spirit in black tuxedo with black top hat, walking in my house, going upstairs and heading towards my bedroom where I was relaxing. Wondering what you sense from this. This energy feels nice, but not sure what he wants. I'm going to tell you, anybody that tells you intuitively that they're 100% correct all the time, run. But what I kept hearing as I was reading this while Dal was talking, I literally kept hearing, I'm the welcoming committee. And I kept rereading your comment thinking, yeah, but you've been in the house over a year, but you just did this clearing a few weeks ago. Now, I'm not really sure why, but I'm guessing for whatever reason, you felt it was necessary to clear the energy. So I don't know if there was maybe some heavy, dense energy, could have been something that maybe wasn't supposed to be there, but you removed it out of the way. So this little guy was able to come forward and let you know who he is. The other thing I keep feeling for some reason, I don't know how old this house is, but is there any chance there's something behind one of the walls in your bedroom? And I don't mean in a scary way. Because this guy, to me, from what you're describing, he said he feels nice. He's all dressed up fancy, um, you know, black, like he is, like in a tuxedo with a hat, the whole bit, right? So for whatever reason, to me, it feels like he wasn't able to make himself known until you did this house clearing. But I don't know. I keep feeling like there's something in your bedroom that he wants to show you, and not in a scary way, like in a good way. I don't know, but that's what I keep feeling. So you'll have to let me know or let us know. Maybe do, I don't know if you know the research of your house or whatever, but maybe find out because I keep feeling like there's something behind one of the walls or maybe in the closet or the door that's either been sealed over or whatever. And the other thing, if you're able to see and sense him, and plus I know who you are, maybe next time you're in a meditation, clear your mind and ask him, what do you want to show me? I'm glad you're here. Glad, because like you said, the energy feels nice. And he feels like a really happy energy, like almost like he's excited to show you things like that maybe you didn't know or you weren't aware of. And I keep feeling like there's some kind of gift in this. Like, not, it would be great if it was $1 million. I don't feel like it's $1 million, but it's something that will definitely be of benefit to you, including that he's very happy that you moved into the house. I don't always do cards, but that's why I muted my mic while Dal was talking. I'm going to pull a card for you and let's see what comes out with this. Okay. So I know you were just tuning in. I was saying, I don't know why, but I just go with what I hear and what I feel. I feel like he was kind of suppressed until Effie did the house meditation. And for whatever reason that she felt led to do this, he wasn't able to make his presence known until she kind of shifted the energy in the house. And I kind of feel, I don't know what, but I keep feeling, and Dell never makes fun of what I do. He is respectful. And I do believe he's very intuitive himself, but I keep feeling like there's something behind a wall, or there's like a little cubby or a space, maybe in the floorboard or something that's covered over that maybe you haven't found yet. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be $1 million or anything, but it'll be something positive. I keep feeling. I don't know. We'll see. I know Dell's smiling because that means I'm not going to say anything.
Well, I'm gonna just say one thing about if you're looking behind in walls and stuff like that, because I used to
Yeah.
build houses and fix houses back in my early 20s and that, and there was a thing that used to be done when with carpenters, that you would put either a newspaper or a coin or a penny or something there that was in the house when
Okay.
you had when you would when you were closing up and finishing it. There was sort of like a little time capsule and stuff like that. So some people also, this is, I always find this really interesting, is when they go and they say they're remodeling, they find this paper and then they go looking in the paper and then there's some article in there that they figure that it relates to them.
Mhm.
Right, but usually the paper that's going in there is the time it was finished, because it has a time or it has a date on it and the year and what was going on there. It was no sort of significance, but sometimes there could be a significance to it too as well, right? Maybe there was a story in there that related to something to your situation, family heritage, or something like
Or that
that.
era.
Yeah,
or
it
that
could be.
aura from where he's coming from. Mhm.
Yeah, it could be a lot of things there. So it's all interesting little rabbit holes to go down in thought. But just remember that just by finding something on a property that's there, that there was probably another reason of why that was put there in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. So the update that she had, and I want to add that Keith Ottersberg added when we were talking about activity. He said it didn't matter what time it was here, there was activity. I'm going to have Keith Ottersberg on the show. He's been on the Dead Files before. So we're going to connect sometime this week and talk about that. So we should have an interesting show about his experiences and ours. So look forward. But there you go. Somebody telling you it didn't matter what time. Same thing at our house too.
Mhm.
So uh, I'll reread Effie's comment. Top hat man touches my energy field on upper back and neck area. Not intrusive, gentle vibration tickle. I let him know he is acknowledged, wondering if you're tuning into something. I'll go a little further. Kelly, I will get to your comment. Hang on. Effie said, yes, he's excited. That's what I feel. Thank you. I'll look into the wall and closet. Like, I'm not talking about ripping your house apart, but you know what? You can knock on things. And Dell's built houses before. So he knows about construction and things like that. But you can tell if you're banging on something, something sounds hollow versus if you've hit a wall stud or something like that, right, Del?
Yep.
Hmm. So I did pull a card, and I have to remember the card's not for me. It's for you, Affy. If it doesn't resonate with you, great. Take what does, leave the rest. But if somebody else is hearing this, either live or in the replay, and it does resonate with you, you think, oh my gosh, that could have been for me. Guess what? It is for you. That's the way it works. So the card I pulled was Stargazer. It says, set your sights higher. Now, to me, this almost looks like, if you will, I know it's backward. Oh, no, it's not backwards. Wow, unless it's coming across backwards. Um, he almost looks like a bit of a sage with a telescope to me. And what I'm almost feeling, because I did ask Spirit when I pulled this card to give us a little bit more information, that maybe he's got some information for you, Effie. Maybe he's got something to share with you from the other side too. And again, take this quite literally when it says, set your sights higher. So don't be afraid to go forward. Don't be afraid to have courage. Don't be afraid to jump because the net will appear. And I hope that helps you. I'm going to read, let's go back to a few more comments here. So, Kelly Hopkins, about a month ago at 2 a.m., I was sitting at my kitchen table making crystal beadery bracelets. Yes, those are beautiful. I make jewelry too. I've checked them out, Kelly. You're doing a great job. There was an energy outside that wasn't human friendly outside my kitchen window. This energy had freaked me out and sent my anxiety through the roof. I felt an intense, non friendly energy. This is something you don't want in your house. Yes, of all people, most of us, well, I know, we know that, and quite a few of us do. Absolutely. I ran from my kitchen to my bedroom, waking up my husband and telling him something was really wrong. He searched around but saw or felt nothing. To this day, and it cuts off with the W there, honey. I may have to go to Facebook here unless you've added it down below. Let's see. Uh, Hi, Carrie. Welcome. I don't see it, but I do have my phone and have realized, thank God, I muted the audio. I'm able to go into the comments here on my page. So hang on, I'll see what else you added here, Kelly, so that we can finish your comment. Hang on one sec. Okay. To this day, we still cannot explain why you freaked out. Well, I think whether we believe in energy or not, I know that you guys do, that you guys work with the paranormal, you and Steve-O, but whether people believe in this or not, I always use this analogy that if, depending on how well you know someone, if they step up really close to you, really in your face, what do we automatically do? We back up because it feels icky. Like we do it without even thinking, right? Depending on the level of intimacy we have with someone. That's personal space. That's your energy field. That's your aura. So we can all sense things. How many times have you seen people with paranormal activity that'll say, I feel like someone's watching me. I can see it. I can feel it. There are other reasons. Could have high EMF and things like that, but it can happen. Is there anything you want to add to that, Del?
Nope.
I just meant about energy, about being able to sense it.
Hmm. Well, I'm gonna say this part here, and this might be one thing to consider for a lot of people, is that we've gone to this highly electrified wireless world right now, and
Mhm.
a lot of things. This is just theory on this, is that our diets that are heavily composed of uh, non-nutritional foods that are highly chemicalized and stuff like that, and with the high amount of Wi-Fi signals, wireless signals, and stuff like that, could be giving a sensation of something else that you might not have felt before, because we are getting into this heavy electrified field there now. And that's even what they do with when they do ghost hunting, and that is looking for EMF, electromagnetic frequencies. And with old wiring in houses to new stuff now where we're wireless, like I'm totally wireless right now. I got the wireless internet going on here with the phone going, with the TV, and that there's so much field energy that's around that is something maybe to look into.
So I want to say hi to Carrie. I
Oh,
noticed that Carrie
hey,
said
Carrie.
hi, Del. Hi, Lorilei and Sonya. Sonia's sick, unfortunately, at the last minute. So please send her healing prayers, good thoughts. She'll come back another time, though. Like I said, Del and I always have a built-in host, and you gotta be malleable when you shows, right? So I'm glad he's here. Okay, Kelly, I'm gonna say this out loud because I know we've said it before on previous, like a long time ago on previous shows. Kelly and Steve-O do paranormal communication. They actually do paranormal communication with ghost boxes. I like the way they do it, actually. They're very respectful. They understand about energy, protecting it and stuff. But Kelly said, thank you for explaining that, Del. It does make a lot of sense. But she said this just happened that one time. It wasn't like
Mm-hmm.
all the time. And yes, we can get spikes in EMF.
Right.
But I will tell you, Kelly and Steve don't live in this place anymore. But I remember one time Kelly sent me this picture. And no, I don't always tell Del everything because I know he'll kind of give me the okay, even if he sees it. Well, he will try to debunk things 6 ways to Sundays. And like he said before, I think it was his show. I'm kind of the yin to his yang because he's way over here with the skepticism because he's got to debunk it in his mind. He's very logical, whereas I'm not gullible, but I always say just because I haven't experienced it or seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And I truly believe that truth reveals itself. I was getting, could it have been from the crystals? Maybe. I've heard of that before. Definitely, Michelle. And Kelly goes, oh no, the picture story. She knows what I'm going to tell. I know she's okay with it because she put LMAO. So she messages me. This is like quite a few years ago. And she goes, you're not going to believe this. And I go, what? And they were having some pretty crazy paranormal activity in their old place. She sends me this picture of her door. And you guys, I kid you not. It looks like something got stuck in her door. Like the face, you see the eyes and the mouth is super wide, and you see the handprints like this. No idea how it got there, why it got there. I know Kelly and Steve well enough. They've been on my show when I was on my previous network. They wouldn't have faked it. And it was there for a really long time. So they have had some strange stuff happen. Now, again, if I didn't know her, yeah, and I did ask her a lot of questions, believe me. So I don't know where it came from. Like I said, if she was going through this all the time, but who knows? Could have been something, maybe not. Like there is always a plausible explanation. And sometimes when there isn't, that's when we got to look at could be something else. You never
Yeah.
know.
So that's exactly right. And even looking at explanations of how things go, there's a lot of things out there. This is why it's so important to do research on things, is
Yeah.
to find out different causes and effects. Like if you say you have something that happened just only one time, right? You'd have to go back and then look at that sort of the day. Was the sun giving off huge amounts of solar flares? Was the Earth's magnetic
Human
poles
resonance.
moving and shifting a little bit? Was there's a lot of things, like the Earth is a big magnet, right? So there's there's a lot of energy that's being produced through that, and there's a lot of movement because the Earth's poles do move, they do shift, and when solar energy comes down there, it causes strains on the belts, and that it causes movement and strains, and you can have power. The grid powers have spikes and lows and stuff like that. So there's a lot of other factors that can deal with stuff. Flow of groundwater. Uh, levels going up and down? Do you have lots of quartz mineralization in your area? Every little thing can affect and cause a different little thing. I just wanted to add that little part there too as well.
Well, the Schumann resonance too, when you look into that, it's been
Mhm.
pretty high and it's going up and down. There's lots of things that could contribute. But like it's really, well, I don't know everybody here, but I know a lot of people. And Keith Ottersberg says, yes, very, or all very valid points. And Dave says, yes, cover all the bases. You guys are absolutely right. So this was a comment by Heather Cooper earlier, and I said we'd get back to it. People having past life recall seems to be more common as well. And I have a thought on that, but what do you think, Del?
Well, this comes into this part that I started at the beginning of this, is that past life. Just anybody recall is that we're in this world now of the World Wide Web, and I think there's more information being put out there. So it seems like more people are talking about this or having these sort of experience because more people are sort of suggesting it or telling their stories. Because 30 years ago, when we weren't on there, it was just basically you were telling your people that you called on the telephone or you met at the office or your friend and family group. But now that we have this wider platform of giving information, I guess it might seem more that there's more people having these same experiences, even though it's always been the same thing happening for time in and time out.
Okay, so I have some different thoughts on that. First of all, I do believe in past lives. Um, I've studied death experiences for 40 plus years professionally and personally. I do believe I had one as a toddler, but the reason why I share this, one thing that has always fascinated me, and there are thousands of stories about this, about children who remember their previous lives. There are some incredible stories out there. These are young children, especially, that they wouldn't have knowledge of such things that they're speaking of, and some have evidential proof. There's one particularly famous story of this little boy in India that was born with a birthmark on his back of his scalp, I believe, and he kept talking about to his mother when he could finally speak that you're not my mother. I miss my wife. I miss my 12 kids. And talking about this city he had never been to before. He kept going on and on about it, that he was insisting that his parents bring him there. He kept saying he was murdered and he knew who had killed him, that his murder hadn't been solved. And so I guess the family just finally relented. They brought him there. He'd never been to the city. And I believe he was like maybe 5, took them to the house, identified his previous wife by name, knew all the kids' names, like that were his children from a previous life. The birthmark on the back of his head, he kept claiming he had been struck in the back of the head, I believe, with an axe. And it was the exact shape they ended up finding out because he showed them where the murder weapon was buried when he was in his previous life. He identified the person who murdered him. And this is all documented. And
Mhm.
apparently, I guess with pictures of the post-mortem wound of when he was the adult in the previous life, were the exact shape and size of the birthmark. Now, that's not an isolated incident. There are thousands of stories, not quite as sensational as this.
Mhm.
So I do believe past lives exist. And
Possibility.
um, what's that?
I said it's a possibility. Anything's possible. So I'm not ruling things out.
I'm
It's
not going to say anything, but we've discussed past lives in this house. I will not reveal some of the conversations we've had. But I've had some proof, I believe. You may have heard me talk about it on the show. I don't know if I've ever told you about it, but I do believe I've had some proof of some of my previous past lives. And apparently we've lived thousands. Like even if you look into Dolores Cannon. Now she never claimed to be a psychic. She made it very clear, nor was she a medium. She was a hypnotherapist. And her husband started delving into the deeper levels of hypnosis at the omega level that back in the 60s they were told never to go. It was a dangerous area to go. You look into some of the stuff that she shares, some of it, which I believe is starting to come to fruition, some of the things that have come through people that have revealed to her through hypnosis what has happened. So, and you watch her, like look at some of her lectures. She's no longer alive, but you listen to some of her lectures and the stuff that she shares. It's incredible. And there are evidential things in there. Not everything. And I'm not saying I believe everything she was speaking about, but to me, there was definitely proof of past lives. I can tell you, I've had patients who have coded, meaning their heart has stopped, they're clinically dead, they're not breathing, and through almost an hour resuscitative attempts, their heart restarts. And with working nights, sometimes I would have time to speak with patients, and I felt so blessed that they would share their experience. And you knew from talking to them, it wasn't just that their ears were still functioning while they were being resuscitated. They could tell you things that there was no way they would know what was going on, say down the hallway, somebody's name that wasn't even in the room. Like, I'm telling you, crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. So I'm just going to say, I was seeing Carol's messages. Thanks, Jane, for telling her. I'm going to just update and I'm going to read these comments because we got some good comments here. So Kelly wants to update about the spirit stuck in the door story I shared. She goes, I still remember that spirit stuck in the door. When Steve and I moved, it was still stuck in the door. LOL. It tried entering from one door to like 3 other doors and kept getting stuck. I finally went back to the front door or it finally went back to the front door and it stayed there. It was still there when we moved. And I'm not kidding you guys. Like, yes, could people say it was pareidolia, meaning, the human brain likes to make up faces and what have you when they see certain images, like in the cloud or whatever. But this was crazy, this story. And like, I wouldn't tell it except I witnessed it. I saw what was going on. So Heather Cooper says, I have always felt the Sibley Peninsula is home to elementals. What's your impression of this area? Well, before I'll let Del answer and then I'll share. For people that know, Sibley Peninsula is around where we are. We have a national park around here where we live in Thunder Bay, Northwestern Ontario in Canada. And I believe that's what you're referring to with Sibley Peninsula. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Del.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. It's all part of the Sibley there. Yeah, going out to the Sleeping Giant, and you got Silver Islet there. Lots of minerals out there. You got just outside. You got amethyst. There's really there's a very large, extensive native lore story of minerals and elementals, giants, and other little people around this
Okay,
area.
so for elementals, though, do you believe that there's elementals in this area?
Well, if you're looking about saying elementals in the part of fire, wind, water, spirits, and stuff like that, well, that's all part of the lore, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Yeah.
there is quite a if you look into the legend and lore of sometimes it's known by the legend of Nanabiju or Gitchagumi, that's the sleeping giant. You can see it pretty clearly about 10 minutes from our house. Then it's very closely interrelated. It's called Little Niagara of the North, and it's on the south side of the city, whereas the sleeping giant can be seen, well, from many places, but from close to our house, the north side of the city. And the stories sort of intertwined and interrelated. As for elementals, have I experienced anything that I could absolutely say beyond a shadow of a doubt? Specifically in the Sibley Peninsula, I have experienced some very unusual activity when I was actually at a light worker type retreat a few years back in Colorado. But will I say, do they not exist? Absolutely not. Because as I started the show out, there are many people that I have talked to from all over the world who have crossed through this city that are within the paranormal field that all say, holy crap, you guys have all kinds of strange stuff where you live. Have
Well,
you
that's
found the
yeah.
same?
That's the thing. There is that this area here of the Canadian Shield is heavily impregnated with quartz and amethyst, silver, gold, nickel, copper. So there's a lot of
Super
conductive.
seven
There's a
crystals.
there's a lot of mineralization that is prevalent around here that can with earth energy and stuff like that with the give off a very strong thing. Like I told you the story before about I was staking claims prospecting outside of Geraldton, which is sort of northeast of us, going up Highway 11, and we had to do this big block of claims, prospecting claims, and the magnetite was so strong in that area. There's actually a magnet mine just outside of Geraldton there, and it would just pull our compasses over areas, and it would affect our batteries, and we don't. You get this weird feeling also in the bush too. Like it always felt like the hairs on the back of your neck were sort of sticking up. It was just the energy from that
Mhm.
area, and it make the mind think certain little tricks there if you want to
Well,
go that
I don't
direction.
know because your family has built this beautiful, some people
Hmm.
will call it a cabin or
Yeah,
cottage. We call it a camp up here. And Dell will attest to this. There's a public
yeah.
beach at the end of the road. As you turn onto this narrow little driving road up to the camp, there's how many camps on that side? About seven?
No, there's about 13, but yeah, the energy field changes.
Just completely changes. You can feel it, you can see it. We have very little internet connection. There's not a tower. I understand that you have to be in a specific spot versus the east side of the lake. They have internet. But I am telling you, it is like going into another dimension. It is,
Hmm.
there's no other way to explain it except you have to experience it. I wanted to add, Carrie Landock says there was a very little boy who said he'd been in armed services and talked about this. His name and name of another in the troops with him. Parents checked records for names and found them. Oh, yeah. There's another story of a little boy that said that he was in the 9/11 tragedy, lost his life. There has been, there's a journalist by the name of Susan. I forget what her name is. I've seen her interview on Coast to Coast AM years ago, and her little boy, he was actually on The Ghost of My Child, I believe. He's now an adult, but they have ascertained that they believe he was the engineer of the Titanic and went down with the ship. It's a fascinating story. So
Hmm.
Effie adds, I've had past life memories resurface. Judy says, oh my God, I've had some experiences at Silver Islet, which is
Hmm.
around Thunder Bay as a
Yeah.
child and very spooky. She says, I felt that at Oliver Lake too. So
Hmm.
there you go. Like I said, people from around here locally. What about the story at the graveyard in Kekabeka? I never heard that until you
Hmm.
mentioned it to me, but you want to share that with people?
Yeah, that was actually something that I remember back in my teen years, and
Mhm.
there was a part about it that this graveyard in Kekabeka, which is Kekabeka Falls town there, just north of Thunder Bay, is
In the south
certain
side of the city, though, it intertwines with the legend of the sleeping giant.
right. Well, yeah, that's where the falls is. That yeah, the whole area that's all around, I guess, within about 30 miles of from the center of Thunder Bay, but. Yeah, it's just that you would come into this area, and then people had said that there was a weird sort of uh, electrical field that was around there, and that you go there, and sometimes whatever during the time of the year, the door locks would lock or unlock, and sometimes you'd go in there, you'd park in there, because people used to go there and go and make out because it was a really hidden area there. Is that if you
Yeah.
parked in going in forward somehow, and this has happened and been reported that you'd actually your vehicle be pointed the other direction, right?
I
So
thought you said there was a bit of a fog or something. It
yeah,
seemed like it
fog,
was coming
mist, the
in.
field, and stuff like that. Just like yeah, during these times, it'd be just a really weird aura, foggy glow there, and just the way that that people would get these weird sensations and stuff like that, and yeah, just or batteries would be totally dead out of a vehicle or stuff
Yeah.
like that, and just power drains. Like we had that problem there at the old house where you just couldn't keep up with tires and batteries because they would tires would be kept on going flat and
Long.
batteries would be drained. Just weird energy connections with all that stuff, and it's like I don't parts of people see in past lives. I don't discount that. I says that anything is possible. Like I've gone into the whole thing about dreams and dream walking and transference of I guess of memory and soul and energy. And if you're looking at stuff like that, there's a lot of stories that are in this and where people have gone. And this is a part where deja vu comes into effect, where you've dreamt something and then this occurrence happens a day or two later or a week later, or you've you end up meeting somebody like, hey, I know you, and you might have dreamt about them or some sort of thing. I think these are all possibilities. That's the mystery that's out there, and to discount any of these things that they can exist because you're a non-believer of stuff there, I think you do yourself an injustice, and exploring on what the mysteries of the world and the universe have out there for you.
I have to agree. People are sharing quite a few of their experiences, and I have a story too. And I'm going to get to Carrie's and Michelle's and Judy's. And somebody sent me this about 2 years ago, maybe no, it had to be more than that, maybe 4 years now. I've just realized we've just passed our third anniversary at our new place here. It's flown by. And they sent me this picture, and they said, "What the heck is this?" And it looked like the inside of a fridge that was all melted, and it looked like it was sort of melted in the shape of a carton of eggs. And I don't know what apartment building it is on this side of the city, on the north side of the city, but the story was told to me, and I don't know this person to be untrue, or like to she doesn't contact me with this kind of stuff, and I don't talk to her very often, nor has she ever been untruthful when I've spoken to her. But she says her 70-plus-year-old neighbor was at home in his apartment, and he kept smelling something burning, and he was checking everywhere to see, like, what the heck's going on here, like, where's the smell coming from? So I guess out of desperation, he opened the fridge door, and he claims his eggs were on fire. And yes, I know I've had many questions, comments. Dell's even asked me, and he's right. Everybody that's asked this has had the right to ask because we have to debunk it. But there was nothing wrong with the electrical in the fridge. There's nothing wrong whatsoever, because I asked, well, what did you do with the eggs? There's a picture on my TikTok. There might be one too in the Paranormal University group. And this guy was so freaked out. He has never experienced anything like this in his lifetime. Apparently he took the eggs and just threw them out the window. But apparently they've had quite a bit of strange activity, and she gave me quite a few things, examples. They've seen things like you know somebody, I guess they smoke in the, I don't know if it's in their apartments or what, but she told me about people, and herself too included, seeing lighters levitating on their own. And now I didn't see video or pictures of it. I'm just sharing what she shared with me, but she definitely showed me the picture. I don't know, it was pretty darn
Mm-hmm.
strange. You can definitely tell that it was not a full carton of eggs. It was where the eggs were, and you can see the egg shape burnt into the plastic. You know how there's usually plastic over top of your fruit and vegetable bins?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So I'm going to read Carrie and then Michelle's and then Judy's comments here. So Carrie says, that's how southern France is: high mineral content and holy springs, magnetic caves, mounts, and forests. Well, what about below the city of Paris and the bone
The
remains that are beneath
catacombs.
the city? Pardon?
The catacombs, yeah.
Yes. Anything you want to add to that comment? Because then if not, I will move on to the, 'cause people are sharing a few of their experiences.
Well, that's the thing that they're finding out with these old cities, especially in Europe, where they've basically built a new city on top of an old city, which was built on top of an older city too, as well. And that's what they're finding, things more and more as they keep on going deeper down. And a lot of this stuff has been sort of misplaced in history, or records have been lost, or what has happened. That's why it's always important to keep paper copies or some sort of tablet copy, hard copy of stuff, and that stuff doesn't get lost. That's why history is so important.
Mm-hmm. For many reasons. Plus, if you look at the law of energy, that it can't be created nor destroyed, but it needs to be transferred, or it can be transferred from one place to another, especially if you have a living being and they pass. We are like a living battery. There's that energy. And where does it go? You can talk about the etheric body and what have you, but we still have electrical charges and stuff going through our body. So it kind of makes sense, right? If there's bones, you most definitely could maybe have some residual energy left over, right?
Hmm.
So Michelle says she's over in Australia. She says, I walked into a church very late one night with a friend. There was a nun praying in the front row. As our eyes adjusted to the darkness, it was an overhead projector with a sheet over it. LOL. I'm glad you shared that, because right, you guys all thought it was a nun praying, or is this a ghost, or what is it? And because you took the time to debunk it, or when your eyes adjusted, you realized your eyes had played tricks on you, basically, right?
Hmm.
Anything to add to that one, Del?
No, that's the part of pareidolia. And the thing is, was that's what I said to before, is that if you're in that sort of that headspace of expecting to see something, your mind will actually start to trigger an effect that will point things out to make it appear to see things. That's that. If anybody wants to check out, there's some great videos on optical illusions that you can watch on YouTube, and how
Yeah.
tricks of light, and even with audidolia with audio sounds. Like, you remember that one there, Yanni or Laurel, right?
Oh,
Where
that
people,
drove me crazy, that one. Yeah. I don't know
right?
if you guys remember it. If you don't, there was a viral recording going around, and depending apparently on your age, as well as whether you were with whatever gender you identify with, that you would either hear Yanni or you would hear Laurel. And it drove me insane because every time I listened to it, I heard something different, right?
Yeah.
Hmm. There's been
Okay.
a few things like that, like the blue gold dress, depending on what you saw. You either saw blue or you saw gold. And
Yeah.
there's the running shoe that's out there that the longer you stare at it, right, you're either, and it doesn't change. But say you come back the next day and you look at it, same picture, it just depends what your eyes, I guess. I don't know what's going on with your eyes. Some days you'll see like a very pale pink, and other days you'll see a pale mint green.
Yeah.
There's optical illusions, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so Judy, who is local to Thunder Bay, not that I'm giving away where you live, but just so people have for reference. She says, I felt something creepy at the sea lion outlet, or I think it said say, or the sea line out at Silver Islet or Island. On a trail to the sea line, there's a clearing. I've stopped and told my daughter that we have to turn back. The energy felt so dense and dark. Now, I'm not quite sure what she's referring to. Do you know what that is? Like I told you, Judy, I
Yeah.
don't go out often, and I don't.
Yeah. It's a rock formation on the shore of Lake Superior, and it's called the Sea Lion. It's out going out
I know what
towards
you're
us.
talking about now. And I've had a lot of people message me about that privately, actually, Judy. So I don't think you're crazy.
Well, there's
Mhm.
even the part with Silver Islet. There is that was the part of the story, and it goes into the whole thing with the sleeping giant. Is why the sleeping giant is laying down in the bay outside of Thunder Bay, is that he had given the secret away of all of the silver that was here to the white man, and it was a whole thing that he had misplaced his given away trust away, that he had broken trust with the native reserve there. And it was to do with also with the daughter of the chief, who was supposed to be at the bottom of that is at the bottom of Kekabeka Falls, and you can see her in the mist down below. And he was punished to lay down and protect the islet at the silver mine. And the silver mine is supposed to have one of the highest grades of silver in the world. And as they were
Mhm.
starting to mine it there, they had broken through one of the walls, which allowed the rest of Lake Superior to come in and flood the mine. So the cost to go in there and to try and hold back Lake Superior is like is the largest
Massive
Great Lake. Is a massive lake. I think it's the
and
third.
cold.
Yeah, it's the third, I think, biggest freshwater lake in the world, but it's the largest one out of this Great Lakes here in North America. So there's a lot of water keeping that back, and I guess we don't have the technology there to go down and mine that to get the silver out of it. But that was the sort of a very paraphrased story of that area.
And then I've heard stories of, now I'm sorry, I shouldn't say hate. I very much never liked this artist from the 70s from Canada called Gordon Lightfoot, who used to sing this song called The Legend of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
The
And I've
wreck,
heard, pardon?
the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Sorry. I did say I wasn't a fan. Anyways, I've heard stories of people claiming deep in the middle of Lake Superior that there supposedly is some type of energy very much akin to being a very tiny mini, if you will, Bermuda Triangle type energy. That strange, odd, unusual things happen there. Have you heard that, Del?
Yeah, it's actually it's in Lake Michigan, but that's
I've
the
heard it in
Mich.
Lake Superior too, like
Yeah,
around where the Edmund Fitzgerald went down.
Yeah, that's closer going towards Lake Huron area. That's where that wreck happened. But
Mhm.
yeah, that was there's you got to look at there's a lot of things about these Great Lakes that we don't know about anyway. So that's they're finding ancient settlements miles in offshore already there. So maybe the water wasn't as high as it was.
Okay, I gotta read this, Michelle. You're hilarious. She goes, "Who else would be in the front row praying, by the way? LOL." And I was a little bit drunk.
There you go.
Good Aussie, right? Us Canadians, we can all get to bed together for a bevy or two. Effie Emilio says, thank you for this live. I'm loving and enjoying it very much. Well, we're glad to have all of you here. Thank you for joining us. And our shows are live. There's something for everybody here. Like I said, we are growing the network and there's all different kinds of show live. I like to keep, and I know Dell tries to, most of us do, involve you with the comments because we want you to be part of the show. That's why we're having so much fun, you guys, because we're all talking and sharing our ideas. Keith Ottersberg says, good show, got to jump and get ready for my show at 7. Have a great night, all. Well, Keith, if you are there, you're probably not, but if you are, he's in Central. Be sure to put your show name down here, please. Oh, Michelle Pratt. Michelle, now you've just gone down a few points. I'm joking. She goes, I love that song by Gordon Lightfoot. No, the song that Dell, I'm going to put this out here for a little bit of a laugh and continue reading the comments. If Dell wants to drive me crazy, and he knows, and I'm sorry, and I mean this as no offense to anybody, but I wish I could like it, but I just can't handle most country music. But one thing that really grates on my nerves, polka music. Take it away, Dell. What do you play when you want to irritate me?
Yes, it's Hemistach. It's a
Yeah.
polka band, and they do a great version of "Sweet Child of Mine." It's awesome.
Rock songs in polka.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. And I said this, I was talking to my co-host Dave because we share funny stuff back and forth. Of course, Dave was aware of this and had to tell me, which I already knew, that there were so many rock songs that he did, and they're great. And I said, now Dal said, what do you mean you're saying this? You guys look up this band. I'm not sure how to, if you look up polka band sing
And
Sweet
I'll
Child of
find
Mine, you will find
I'll,
it.
I'll find
You
to
want to
see if I
spell
can
it?
find the name. I'm gonna find the
Okay,
name
we
here.
can't play it, but you can
Yeah.
find the name. But her guys in the back, the band, to me look like zombies, like living zombies sitting there. And she's well endowed and wears the outfit to go with it. But she has the beauty mark that every time I see her singing, all I keep seeing is the clip from Austin Powers and Austin Powers saying "Mole, mole, 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 mole." Now, when you see this video, you'll know what I'm talking about. So when he wants to drive me insane,
Uh,
not really, but just to get me going, he will play this. Did you find it?
I'm trying to spell it here. It's okay.
Okay, so
I'll
Carrie
keep
says
on
I'm on
talking.
Southern. Okay, she's on the southern shore of Lake Michigan, and Carrie's my birthday twin, and Michelle Pratt is almost our birthday twin. So go figure. And we all found each other. They were just scrolling around wherever I believe and just happened to find the Angel Rock. So go figure. All the
There.
birthday twins out there.
Okay, here. This is how you spell it
Oh
here.
dear God.
Okay, it's okay. It's the, and then it's Hematdamish. So it's Heimatdamisch, and I'll go to the camera. You can probably see.
It's so much easier just to type in polka band singing Sweet Child of Mine. It comes up, believe me, because I did that to send it to Dave Hansel. So Michelle Pratt says she loves our shows. Thank you, Michelle. We love you guys, all of you out here too. And we appreciate it. And share it with your friends if there's people out there that you think there's something they might like or enjoy. Just so you know, a lot of people always message me and they always say, "Oh my gosh, I missed your show live." Don't worry about it. There's always a replay on YouTube, on Facebook, usually on Roku. I'm not quite sure what went on with Roku tonight, but that doesn't usually happen. And then anywhere where podcasts or talk radio is carried, our shows are carried. So I want to read. Thanks, Keith. You were still here. So guys, check him out. He's as well. He's on Facebook. He's got a podcast. This is Keith Ottersberg, and like I said, I'm going to be talking to him about having him as a guest on the show. His podcast is called The Otter's Den. So he said he had to get ready for it. So have a great show, Keith, and thanks for stopping by. And everybody's saying LOL, LOL. And Jane says, oh my God, no, you don't do that. Yes, he does, Jane.
Yeah.
And Carrie then said, oh my gosh, I have friends in a band that do that for our local pierogi fest. Can send you the link, Del, just for lore. LOL. Thanks, Carrie, birthday twin. And guess what? There's all kinds of synchronicities tonight. Either you guys are mentioning things I was just going to say or what have you, which often happens on this show. But my grand dog, the only one that's allowed on Dell's couch, he does not invite him. He just my grand dog, our grand dog, goes and helps himself. Guess what his name is? My eldest child. I have no idea why he picked this name. Dell is of Ukrainian and First Nation descent, but our family is not. But my son named his first dog on his own pierogi, and it's spelled exactly the way you spelt it, Carrie. We've shortened it to Rogi, right?
Yep.
Oh, everybody's having a field day now. Dave Petrella says, ha ha ha. And he goes, Mike Myers, he's a Gemini. Dave is an astrologist, by the way. So that's why. Dell's the Gemini, too.
Yep.
And Carrie says, send you a clip of Nomad Planets doing that rock polka so you can torment Lore. Gee, thanks, Carrie.
There
Thanks.
we go. We need more rock polka out there.
No more polka, please. No. I know, because I can hear it. Like I could be downstairs in the basement having the washing machine on and I start to hear it and my skin just crawls. And then, like I said, I have seen it so many times. I guess I watch these guys and they look like zombies to me, like living zombies. You see what you think. Oh, Michael says, enjoying the show. I'm so glad you're here, Michael. Yes, you are going to be on the Angel Rock next week. You guys do not want to miss this. Michael, I'm going to have to make sure I say your name properly before you come on. Michael de Blasi. I think I am saying it properly. Super awesome. I know him from a previous show. We got on the phone one night and it was like we had been friends all our lives. So you guys are going to love him. He has incredible stories of strange, odd, unusual experiences we've been talking about tonight. He's an incredibly gifted psychic medium. He has a really interesting muggle job. I will not out it. If he chooses to share it, he will. So we are going to have a lot of fun. So he says, perfect. So he will be here next week. And Kelly says, LOL, poor Lore. That's right. No, I don't really need pity. If I really wanted to, I don't, but there are ways. I believe me. We could tease each other. We know each other well, like most of us do when we live together. Unfortunately, you guys, we are out of time. I'm so glad all of you hung out with us tonight. You made the show tonight. Del, thank you for pitch hitting, as you will when I need you to. I did the same for him with the delicious recipe. So go ahead, Del. Tell him how to find you, your show again, the whole bit.
Oh, yeah. So I'm Thursdays at 8 Eastern Standard Time here on UPRN. And like I said, I got Varla Ventura coming on this week. We're going to be talking about the festival of Imbolc there, and that's going to be interesting. She's always been great, full of knowledge there, dealing with Celtic lore and little people, big people, giant people, magic, the whole shebang there. So that's for an hour there. So check that out on Thursday.
Yes, and I will be gracing the screens again, actually, in our new time. It starts now permanently on Thursdays, right before the delicious recipe, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern, with The Thing at the Foot of the Bed with my wonderful co-host, David Hansel. And we talk about the strange, the unusual, many of the things like what we talked about tonight. We also do something called the unpredictable, predictable reading. So sometime during that 2-hour period, we pick somebody. If you've got a question or something that you've maybe posted that lights up for us, we will give you both our perspective of what we picked up from spirit and answer that question. So please join us. If you ever want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me on facebook.com/The Angel Rock. Like I mentioned, I have 2 groups on Facebook, Paranormal University and the Angel Rocker Tribe. So please check that out. And you already know who my guest is next week because he was here. Thanks, guys. You've made our night tonight. Really, we've had so much fun here with you guys. Thanks, Del. You want to add anything else?
Good night and see y'all later.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you guys may be. We will see you same time, same place next week. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. We'll see you Thursday.